All right, let's kick off another one. Aluminum trailer modification video starting now. All right, welcome back, guys. Here's what we got. This trailer belongs to the same guy that I did the race car trailer winch support for. So he got a hold of me. This is a trailer that he uses to tow his side-by-side when he goes camping. The problem that he has with it is it's just a little bit too narrow for his side-by-side. So the rear tires on his side-by-side actually rub these outside rails. The front, there's a little bit of a gap, but on those razors, apparently the rear wheels are a little bit wider. So we talked about doing a couple things. One of the things we talked about was cutting the rails back here and just widening the back section. In the beginning, that's kind of what he wanted to go with. He thought about it for a few days and then he gave me a call and he said, "Hey, have you ordered material for that yet?" I had ordered the material, but lucky for him, there was enough material that I could go either way. I could fix the whole side panel or I could just do the back section. And the customer decided after he thought about it that he would rather just bump out the whole side rail. That way, if he ever wants to back his side-by-side in, or, you know, if he's pulling something else, if he's towing something else that may be a little wider and he needs just a little bit more space, it would just be better, which I agree. I told him I agree with that. I think it's probably a good idea. So that's what we're gonna go with. So I'll give you guys an up close look at where I'm gonna start here. I'm hoping this one isn't too bad. It looks to me like it's actually gonna be simpler than you would think. So I'll show you what I'm thinking. All right, so we've got a joint here. This is the front corner joint. We're gonna cut right on this weld. And then we're gonna have to cut these welds on every one of these supports right here. We'll have to cut this one at the top of the fender. So we'll cut all of those. And then here at the back, you can see there's some square tube. The latch is mounted to it. I'm gonna cut this joint here. And then that whole panel, that whole side rail should be free. And we'll be able to pop that off. Then what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll clean up where our welds were. Once I do that, I've got some 4-inch channel. So I'm going to cut a 4-inch piece of 4-inch channel and it will sit just like this, and I'll weld both sides. That will serve a dual purpose. He'll be able to hook straps or whatever inside the C channel, and it will also bump out this rail 2 inches on either side. So he's going to gain 4 inches of width there. Now the fenders, we can't really bump out the fenders because if we do that, it's gonna look funny. So that's what we're gonna go with. So I'm gonna get the grinder out with a zip disc and I'm gonna start cutting these loose, and we'll time lapse that. And then when we get ready to pop it off and clean it up, I'll give you guys a look. So I've got the side panels all cut off. I don't have them cleaned up yet, but they are removed. I have the sides of the trailer cleaned up and we're ready to weld the channel on. That's going to be the next order of business. I've got all these pieces of channel cleaned up. They're ready to go. So we'll jump into time-lapse mode and I'll go ahead and get all those welded on. So you'll probably see me do this whole side and then I'm going to bounce over to that other side. When I get to this side, and I did the same thing to the other side, but I just want to show you, there are some small marks where the zip disc went through the weld and put a little bit of a mark in the channel. I don't want to leave that. So I'm going to take the arc captain and I'll go ahead and weld that. Just run a bead down that and buff it off flat. And you won't even be able to tell. But I don't want to leave it the way it is. So I've got to repair those marks on the trailer, those little scars. And then once I do that, I'll start welding the channel on. It's probably more cosmetic than anything, but I don't want to leave it that way. So we'll jump into time-lapse mode. We'll see if we can't get these knocked out. And then I'll come back to you guys and I'll tell you what my plan is for these side panels. Going on, guys? Let's go through what we're going to try to get done tonight. So I've got the side rails set up on some pipe stands here. So I've just got to go through and grind off what's left of these previous welds. So we'll get these all cleaned up and get them all ready to put back on. I still have to get my square tube cut and put on here. So I'm going to use square tube on these corners to bump them out the same distance as the channel, which is 2 inches, and I've got a piece right there on the trailer. So that's the plan. So I'll get a piece of those cut, weld those on, jump over here, start cleaning these up. Once I'm to the point where I'm ready to fit those side panels back on, I'll come back to you guys and give you guys an update. All right, guys, we got this one in place. I've got my clamps on the front and back. We're ready to tack. So we're gonna jump back into time-lapse mode. I'm gonna go through the same process, get these all squared up and tacked up, get everything tacked up, and then we'll be ready to weld it out. So time-lapse, here we go. All right, guys, I want to give you an update on where we're at here. So I've got these corners all dressed up, welded those out. I do still need to hit that with a wire brush, but there was a crack there, so I repaired that. Got these corners welded back up, both sides. This one, the whole thing was broken. Welded that one back up. It's all welded back together. It's all dressed back up. There's still a little bit of a wowie in that, but it's quite a bit better than it was, so we're just going to call that good. Otherwise, I'd have to cut the whole thing off. And this was one of those things where he said, if you can get it out, great. If not, I'm not worried about it. So that just kind of is what it is. So now we're ready to start welding these all out. Everything's tacked up, but we're ready to weld them out. So I think what I'll do, so I'm going to shut the gate, and I want to just kind of get some brainstorm action going on, get the juices flowing, see if I can come up with some sort of an idea for the latch on the back, and just get an idea on how I want to modify that, and we'll go from there. All right, so here's what we're looking at. I'm going to cut these out. All that is a piece of flat bar. I think I'm just going to use a piece of angle, and then I'm going to cope it so that it fits just like this, but it'll have a little bit of added rigidity because it's got the leg coming down. It should work just the way the old one did, but it's going to be a little bit stronger. That's the other good thing, is with a piece of angle, there's going to be a lot more surface area here. Once we get our pieces all cut, we'll show you guys how they fit and what the plan is, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so I got my cut and coped piece here. You see I coped it so that it would fit right in there like that. That way, when the gate's shut, it's going to butt right up against that. I'm going to drill the hole very last by hand. I just think that's the best option so that we can get it lined up perfectly with our pin. Ho ho ho! Lovely! I just got aluminum spatter all over my nice aluminum square. And that is why you want to use cast when you're using aluminum. Didn't even think about it. Now I just got to go do the other one. Okay, gonna weld these out. All right, those are welded out. So now I think now that that's welded out, I'm going to jump into time lapse and I'll start welding out all these vertical supports. So we'll do that now and then come back and give you a look. So the Arc Captain has ran pretty dang good. I just think we're asking probably a little bit too much for this caliber of a machine. And when I say this caliber, I don't mean anything against the Arc Captain. It's great for what it is. This is probably more of a hobbyist or entry-level type of welder. So we're asking a lot of it by having that machine weld consistently on 1/4 inch material like this and running it at 24 volts. I want to show you guys what I've ran into. The other reason I want to bring this up is because I feel like hopefully you guys can learn from this. If you have this machine and you're running the spool gun, you're probably going to want to know this. So I've got a whole bunch of tips here that it's burned up because I'm just getting it too hot. At that level of amperage, it's just asking too much of that machine, I think. So the first thing that happened is I was just going to town, not thinking anything of it, and it got so hot that it actually melted the tip. There is a ball of aluminum there on the end, but then the copper has also started to melt. So that happened. There was another one there. And then the other problem I ran into was it would just get so stinking hot and the aluminum gets soft, and then I'd get a bunch of spatter to where it would plug up the hole and then it wouldn't feed wire anymore. Then I figured out, and I'm gonna have to get clarification from Arc Captain on this, but then I figured out that there's 2 different style tips, and I'll show you the difference. Once I discovered this, things got a lot better. I still think it's getting too hot, so I've got to give it a break between welds to let it cool so that I don't keep burning up tips. But when I ran into all these feeding issues, this is what I think was causing it. So I was using regular MIG tips, which they fit in this spool gun. But the problem is the spool gun came with 2 spare welding tips. And if you compare the two, here are the 2 welding tips. So I don't know if you can see this, but this one is convex. So the tip actually sticks out a little bit. These are the ones that are for just regular short arc, solid wire, flux core wire. These are the ones that came with the spool gun. There's a flat spot there. These ones are not convex, they're flat on top. The spool gun tips are also labeled 0.0 to 0.030. The regular MIG tips have 0.9. So I'm assuming there is a difference. It's kind of hard to tell. It's kind of hard to say, but I do believe that there's a difference in the design for a reason. I am going to try to get confirmation on that from Arc Captain, but I just wanted to let you guys know. If you run into that issue, make sure you're running the spool gun welding tips. It just eliminates probably 75% of your feeding issues. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Beauty. Okay guys, let's give you one last look at what we've done here. Got our latches installed. We cut the side rails off, we added the channel spacers and welded those back on. Tried to straighten out the wowie in the front and we got it pretty straight. It's not perfect, but we had to modify the corners to account for the 2 inches of width as well. So I think that's going to work. We also had to modify these because they used to weld here and now they weld here. So it'll be a little bit tight for his front tires squeezing between the fenders, but he said that's no big deal. I actually wanted to mention this on the last episode, but it was kind of chaotic with the drill rig emergency repair that I just spaced it. But that video, last week's video, was our 100th video. And we appreciate all the support from you guys. We appreciate you watching. The channel's growing. We're excited about it. So thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you're notified when we post a new video. Hope you guys have a good night. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. This trailer belongs to the same guy that I did the race car trailer winch support video for. This trailer belongs to the same. Then what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll clean up where you'll get a better idea once I get to that point. But I'm gonna weld little pieces of channel there. That will serve a goodness. What's going on, guys? We're back out in the shop. What's going on, guys? What's up, guys? Let's go through what we're gonna try to get accomplished tonight. What's up, guys? What's going on, guys? We're gonna try to. What's going on, guys? We're gonna. Goodness. I did. Goodness. Get that all cleaned up and get our angle pieces ready so that we can weld our latches back on and